All right, hello everybody. We're back with another one. Actually, we're coming to about the end of the whole croon era. There'll probably be more stories later. I'll just flash back to them or go back when they pop up in my mind. But for what I've got at the top of my head, that's pretty much the majority of the stories, I guess. The next part is probably going to be broken up into two parts because it's a lot and it's a huge factor with how my life goes on a new path, to say, I guess, a new track. It was a huge turning point in my life. So, okay, I've been with Kroon for 6 years. First year with the Yokohama team, we were friends hanging out, helping out. Second, third year, I was contracted basically to him. And then the fourth, fifth, sixth year was with the Giants, the Tokyo team. So I've been with him for 6 years. So for the last 6 years, from February to October, I have a job. I have a set, monthly salary. I have, everything. And then from, November, December, January during the off season, I kind of do events, parties, clubs, produce, help, assist, consult, whatever is necessary to make the ends meet. And I survive basically off the money I've saved up over the year to get going for those 3 months if I'm not working much or something. Well, I mean, it's not the best scenario and it's not the greatest lifestyle because, I mean, you would think I'm making a lot, but you whatever you make now, don't work for 3 months and then see how much money you go through. It's a lot, especially when you have a kid and you're living in Japan. So, okay, Kroon is coming to the end of the season, and the team lost. They didn't win the championship. This is the first time since we've been there, and it wasn't a great season for a lot of players. So, and that was into his contract as well. So, a chance of him coming back 50-50 maybe with another team, you never know. So he goes home, and, you know, I'm jumping around. I'm trying to find jobs and do what I do and stuff. But for whatever reason, there wasn't really much going on at the time. There was just nothing really, really big. And I don't think I did too much. I mean, I helped out with a couple little side things, but, for the most part, for those few months, I was just jobless, to say. And I know it's getting to the end of the off season, and still, a lot of rumors, newspapers. Kroon doesn't know, nobody knows. And then I get a phone call from Kroon saying that he's going to sign with the San Francisco Giants. So he won't be back in Japan, and he appreciates everything I did for him. Wishes me the best, and how much he appreciates it, just other stuff. So of course, good for him. He's back in the States playing. He's closer to home, his family, his kids. But for me, I'm screwed. I don't have a job. There's no, that was my nest egg. So I'm just like, what do I do? For 6 years, I've been, this has pretty much been my my security blanket. So I'm frustrated. I'm upset. I'm mad. I'm confused. I'm worried. I'm just everything because I don't have a job. And the new players, when new players come in, they don't right away want to work with me. They don't, right away trust me. I'm a foreigner in Japan. They're like, who is this guy? Is he shady? Is he good? The other players like, yeah, he's straight. He helps us out. Blah blah blah. And then from there, the first year, it's like a little help here and there for a $5 tip for absolutely nothing, or $20-$30 to pick up his family at the airport. Things like that is how I get. And then after the first year, the second year, they're like, well, can you do this? And then I let them know, hey, well, I can dedicate more time to you, but it's easier if you just pay me a monthly set salary to take care of everything because I can't always, be available if it's just a one-shot thing. So that's how it works, and it takes me a year to get to know these guys. But because of that season and that year, most of the players weren't coming back the next season. So I had to start all over again with new people, and I didn't have Kroon and these main guys that would vouch for me. So it's like starting all over again. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. 6 years I dedicated to this. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with sports. I'm done with baseball. There is no career in it. I'm just being used for when I'm necessary and then tossed aside. That's how I felt. Honestly speaking, that's just how I felt. And I was mad. And the Giants actually reached out to me at the time, and they were like, hey, what are you going to do now that Kroon is gone? And I was like, I don't know. I'm weighing some options. And they were like, well, we do need a translator, and they've never hired an American before, but they would consider hiring me if I was interested in it to help out with the foreign players and translate and all this other stuff. And I said, no, I appreciate the offer, but no, thank you. And now remember, my dream in Japan, my overall dream was to be an interpreter for a team or something like that. I mean, that would be a goal in life. But I just turned it down because I was so upset with how everything turned out for me over the last 6 years. Putting my job, putting everything on the line for one guy who gives me absolutely nothing but a used pair of shoes, running around 12 hours a day taking care of these other people for 500 yen, $5. Taking care of Kroon for 6 years and then just being like, hey, thank you. Yeah, I'm not mad at Kroon. At the time, I was just upset at everybody. The fact of, what was I doing for the last 6 years if this is how it ends? So I turned them down. I said, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And they're like, oh, okay, wow. But that was my dream. That was my whole dream job. So I was like, nope, I've got some other things on the line, which I really didn't, but I was going to find some stuff. So I'm reaching out to all these people, all these companies, these friends, labels, studios, and anything. And a couple of people like, well, I might be bringing over this artist, or I might be bringing over this person if you can help it get it and sell it, get the tickets out there, get the promotion, marketing, you get a percentage, and that'll get you about this much. And I'm calculating all these things I've got to do for the year to make it through the year until I can find something, more legit. So, I have a few things lined up. I have a couple side jobs. Another friend's opening a restaurant and a bar. He's asked me to be a consultant to help him out, and he'll pay me, a little bit. So if I'm taking a little bit from here and a little bit from here and a little bit from here, and then I do something big and get a big paycheck, I can make it. So all this stuff is calculating in my head, and it's now, I think it's February. Yeah, it's around February. Baseball's started. Some of the players I knew were like, hey, Bachi, so what are you doing? I was like, look, no offense, but I'm done. I'm going to focus on, a job, because I have a daughter now. And that was my biggest thing, is I want something more legit, more stable, more long-term. I'm not going to focus my energy and time on these guys that are only here for 3 years and then start over just like I did 6 years and I'm starting over at the bottom. No. So February time, players are calling me, hey, I'm meeting the guys and stuff like usual. Of course, I'm not just throwing them to the dogs. I'm helping them out when I can, but I'm just like, this isn't. And they were like, well, would you be interested in working for me? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I've got things lined up. And I had some good jobs. I actually had some pretty good offers lined up. So I getting things moving, and now it's around March, the beginning of March, and I'm things are starting to line up down the path. And so I can see the next door to say, I got this, and then this person calls me, this company calls me like, hey, we heard that you're looking for this. And I've made a lot of connections over the last 3 years with just Kroon and the Giants, but before the last 10, 15 years I've been in Japan, period. And so, marketing companies are like, hey, would you be interested in working with us on this and this? And so I'm like, yeah. So, I'm thinking, do I open my own company and do this as my own company, or do I work for a company and all this stuff? And Kroon calls me and he's like, hey, I got a friend coming into town. Could you pick them up at the airport? They'll be landing at this time, and just show them around. I already told them that you charge about $300-400 a day, which is an average for translating everything. About $300 a day is on average. $500-600. It just depends on what you got to do, driving and stuff. And he's like, because I know you can use the money. And I was like, well, yeah, that helps get me through them until things start moving. I need as much side jobs as I can take. So I believe it was in the morning, like March. I don't want to say the wrong date, but I believe, I know the date, but I just don't want to say it and have to go back and refix this whole thing. So in the morning, I wake up and I'm going to the airport to pick up these friends of Kroon, these guys, show them around Japan. I think they're here just, for a couple of days. And I'm at Yokohama Station, and I'm getting ready to get on the bullet train that takes me to, or the airport train. It's like a mini bullet train that takes you to the airport. And I'm going up the escalator. And I'm like, wow, this escalator's broke. And I get to the top, and it's just, and everything in the whole station is just shaking and bam, bam, and hitting and noises, and people are freaking out, and it's just like signs at the top, bam, bam, bam. It was the big earthquake of 2011, I think, the big tsunami. So the big earthquake hits, I forget what it was, 9 point something or whatever it was, and trains are stopped. People they're telling everybody, get out of the station, get out of the station. So they're pushing us all out of the station, and they get downstairs, and there's just thousands and thousands of people. If you've ever been to Japan, you should know it's a lot of people, but they're all in one area, and there's TV screens, and they're showing these tsunamis coming and taking out this whole towns, and big warnings on the screens and all these, and it's crazy. It's crazy, and nobody's phone will work. And I want to touch on this subject real quick. Okay, so we've got 80,000 people in the middle of this train station, and everybody's trying to use their phone, and nobody's phone is working. So now people are running to payphones. And for those of you under 20, a payphone is a thing you put money in and you dial, and you can actually call with payphone. Hence the word payphone. So back before cell phones, that was how people called people. And so everybody's running to payphones. So you got these long lines of payphones. Nobody's phone. I mean, no matter who you called, what number you called, it was just a busy signal. But you see on TV, these politicians on their phone, you see these people talking to people. So how come our phones are completely dead in the water, but these 5 or 6 emergency staff people are on their phones talking with no problem? So that's something kind to throw up there as a conspiracy theory in some way, that maybe there's a little more to that than meets the eye. So anyway, but we used like WhatsApp and Viber and stuff back in the day. So that's all Wi-Fi. So I was on Viber call, and I called Kroon to tell him, hey, trains are stopped. We just had a huge earthquake. I can't get there. He's like, okay, I'll let him know. And then, next thing he calls me, he says, yeah, I think they rerouted his plane. They're going to land him. I mean, it was just a big panic. No, taxi lines were long. Trains weren't running. Everything was freaking out. So I went to the Stoves, the original bar that I worked for a long time ago, and I just waited there. I had, dinner and sit and waited. And then once things calmed down, after about 6 hours later, I jumped in a taxi, went home, and of course my whole house was in shambles. But it's a huge earthquake. I mean, I know you've heard of it, or if you haven't, just Google it. It's just and things were postponed. We had the whole nuclear factory scare, where the nuclear factory was going, what do you call it? I forget what it's called. They're going to possibly explode because water got in from the tsunami or whatever, and then it short-circuited something. They couldn't cool the rods. So it was just a mess, and now there's nuclear leak, and this was just freaking everybody out. So now all the players are freaking out, and everybody's like, calling me, Bachi, what do you know about the news? And it's a huge mess. So for a few days this goes on, and now it's more about the tsunami. It was horrible. It took out so many people, and it was just massive destruction. And it was, just, then if you see the video footage, you're just like, oh my God. But then on top of that, you have this nuclear power plant that's about to go nuclear. It's about to explode, or there's radiation leaking. And of course, the government lying, saying it's not a big threat, but then you got all these people with Geiger counters, like checking, and it's going crazy. And, it's scared, just like media, just like today. The media is feeding it, and it was a concern. So I remember the military basically told everybody, all the dependents and all the family members that weren't in the military, to go to the airport at 6 o'clock, and they're just handing out tickets to other locations. I mean, you might go to Spain, Italy, Guam, France, Paris, Hawaii, but they were just giving out tickets to families to get them out of Japan. Because, I mean, that's how bad it was. So a week goes by, things have calmed down a little bit, but the nuclear thing is still a huge concern. And the foreign players are freaking out. Some of them just went home. They're like, hey, where's Tony? He's gone. And, so I'm trying my best to help out the players, the foreign players, to get them calm. And, because water, Tokyo, the convenience store still had water. So I was bringing water up from Yokohama to filling suitcases and just taking them up there for them and doing whatever I can for the guys. And so this is starting to be a concern, and it's even a worse concern because now no jobs are going, no work is going, nothing's going, everything's shut down. I have no jobs, and, I got to make money somehow. And then I remember I wasn't concerned until this day. I mean, I was concerned, of course, but to me, I'm more of the, like, let it play out and see what happens type person. I'm not a freak out, So, but this day is when I realized that there was a concern. So one of the players that stayed in this apartment complex that a lot of, like, embassy people stayed, was like short-term, fully furnished, nice 24-hour front desk. So we're there, and I'm bringing him water, and they've got these vans out there, and all these people are loading up the vans. And it was like the embassy people that worked at the embassy. So he knew him. He's like, hey, what's going on? He was like, look, I can't say anything, but I can just let you know, you might consider leaving Tokyo sometime soon. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, look, I can't say anymore. That's all I can really say. They're moving us to Osaka today, right now. We have to, we have early warning type thing. He's early warning for what? So they put the stuff in the van, and they go. And they're like all these big vans take them to Osaka or whatever to get these what do you call it? There's diplomatic immunity people out of Tokyo. So then my friend on base calls me, and he's like, "Oh, yo, Bachi, just to give you a heads up, we had a warning on the base this morning about the nuclear radiation had hit Yokosuka." Now, the way it works on the map of Japan, you got the mainland of Japan, you got the nuclear power plant up here, and you got Tokyo and Yokohama right here, and then you have Yokosuka down here. So this is the start, and this is where the radiation popped up on their Geiger counter on base. They told them, they came on like a TV thing, don't run your heater, your air condition, don't close your windows, tape up your windows if possible. And I mean, the military base went on a lockdown because the radiation counters went off in the morning to a higher threat level than what would be normal. So he's like, and I was like, really? But the Japanese news hasn't said anything. He's like, I'm just letting you know what we've been told, and just be safe. Hope everything's good. Don't go outside as much. So I'm like, that's weird. An hour and a half ago, the embassy guys are getting out of town, and now Yokosuka is saying that they got radiation. And then that night, like at 6, 7 o'clock at night, they put out a public announcement saying that some of the radiation has reached to Tokyo, but it's nothing to be concerned about. So what they did was they gave the diplomatic immunity people, the Congress or congressmen or whoever, all these important figures of state and politics, the first chance to get out of town in the morning. And then they held off until 6 o'clock at night to do it a public, or 7 o'clock at night to do a public announcement until everybody got out of town. When the base had already they had already been hit with the Geiger counter things that morning as well. So they waited all day and let all that come through and just do all that before they let us know, so they can get their important people out of town first. And that's no lie, honest to God, truth. That's when I was like, okay, this isn't good. But if I freak out, then the players freak out because they're relying on me. I'm like, yeah, I saw the news, but I mean, they're handling it. Oh, they're putting styrofoam in the rod case to cool it down. I don't know. I'm just saying anything I can to keep them calm because, they're freaking out. So I want, of course, my daughter and my ex-wife, I want them out of Japan. I don't want my daughter here. So I'm trying to get her a ticket. I'm not working. I don't make any money. I haven't made money in 3 or 4 months. I'm living off of what I've made, so I'm struggling in a sense. And, Prune calls me to see if everything's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not. I've got a lot of stuff I'm trying to go on. I'd like to talk to you, but this is just not the time. And now, granted, I'm still upset at him at the whole fact that I'm stuck in this, jobless because of him in a sense, isn't in my mind too. But, I'm just like, look, I'm good. So he's like, you okay? How's Ayana, my daughter and stuff? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to get him a plane ticket. He's like, look, buy him a ticket. I have money in my account still. You haven't wired it back to me. Use my account, get him a ticket, get him out of Japan. So, that kind of made up for a little bit of things. So I went to the travel agency. They only had one ticket on this plane. And since my daughter was at the time like 2 or 3 years old, she could sit on my ex-wife's lap. And I was like, I'll take it. So I got them out of Japan. They went back, stayed with my in-laws, or my family back in the States, in Missouri. And I stayed here because, I've got to help these guys. And once I got them out of Japan, these guys are freaking out and everything is getting calm now. I think I sent them back for about a month. So now things are calming down. Radiation's still a scare, but they've got it under control. There's still rumors floating around, and there's still some things going on. But to top that off, all events, all parties, everything has been canceled. Nobody wants to come to Japan and nuclear radiation fallout. So everything had been canceled. All those jobs that I had set up, all those things that were going to get me through this year, everything that I was going to do was done. It was gone. Just poof. I mean, it's been 4 months now. It's like the end of March. I haven't been working. I've depleted any money that I've had pretty much to get me through anything. And, I'm just like, and it's a time where you just want to go outside your house in the front lawn in the thunderstorm and raise your hands and yell at, why God, why me? Kind of feeling. It's just like, what can I do? And yes, there's a lot more people, more situations. I didn't mean it like that. I know everybody's with the tsunami and the struggle. That's not my focus. I'm just saying my feelings at the time was, what am I going to do? And and it was a hard situation. So I think I'll stop it there. Yeah, it's 20 minutes. So I'll stop it there, and we'll pick up on the part 2.